Waka waka waka, what's up, and welcome back to the channel for yet another FC Finch video. And today on the channel, we're going to be talking about FC Finch's rules for Transformers collecting. Yes, my title is for the video is very general. It's just to attract viewers and get attention. You know how thumbnails and titles work. You know how the algorithm works on YouTube. We're all battling the algorithm. But nevertheless, let's get into it. So if you remember back at the start of the year, I did a video on 5 very awesome figures from 2023 that were released in 2023 that I personally did not purchase for my collection. And one of my core reasons that stated in that video was income and, of course, space. I live in a condo, so I have a finite amount of space. I have a finite amount of income. This is not my only hobby. I have other things going on in life. I like to take trips with the Admiral, of course. So again, I can't afford to put all of my money into my collection as much as I would like to. And I'm sure that many of us are likely in this same boat. You know, we have priorities in life, we have other things, and we just kind of need to establish a set of rules for ourselves or kind of pick and choose what we want. And sometimes these rules help us pick and choose what we want. They give us kind of a specific set of criteria to adhere to. So before we get started, head to the comments section if you made it this far in the video and let me know what specific rules you have for your personal collecting habits, or what you kind of focus on. And if you are in a position to where this is your only hobby and this is where your money goes, this is your central core of enjoyment, what are your priority buys? Do you focus on a specific figure, on a specific TV series? Definitely let me know in the comments. I'm kind of wanting to start a discussion on all of this and just get an idea of how everybody kind of mitigates their own collection habits. That being said, no caveats on this one. I'll list them in the main list. Like, subscribe if you do feel so inclined. I do greatly appreciate it. And that said, let's get into FC Finch's rules for Transformers collecting. So let's start off with rule number 1, and these are no specific order, by the way. I don't personally collect KOs, or let me be more specific. I don't collect KOs unless I feel they vastly improve over the authentic design. And by way of an example, let me explain what I mean by that. Behind me, you will see my MPM4 KO, which is the Black Apple Thunder Leader. It is an oversized KO of MPM4. It has, in my opinion, better paint. It is larger, of course. Even the design is different. It actually incorporates the gun into the design as a meaningful part of the truck in alternate mode. Even parts of the actual transformation for the robot themselves are different. They did a lot of reverse engineering work. Yes, it borrows many aspects from MPM4, but it also kind of redoes a lot of aspects. Even the back is cleaned up in robot mode. To me, the official MPM4 is almost kind of laughable, especially in the paint department. It almost has Studio Series levels of paint on the backside, except you're paying the Masterpiece level price point. And that just doesn't fly with me, especially as a person who buys figures because of the amount of love that I feel the designers put into them. And unfortunately, the authentic MPM4 just feels kind of lazy and a little bit loveless. Now, that being said, when I buy a KO, I'm not buying a KO because it's cheaper. I also don't buy a KO because they just randomly add diecast without upgrading another part of the structure. To me, adding diecast for the sake of adding diecast doesn't make a figure more premium. There are reasons that the authentic manufacturers didn't add diecast or didn't paint a certain surface, whether it's budget or whether it's design. It doesn't matter. In my opinion, for me personally, the authentic manufacturer did most of the work, and 90% of the time, I am going to give my money to the authentic manufacturer, be it official Takara or a third party. I'm not going to give it to a knockoff unless the knockoff does the better job and puts more love into the figure. Now, before anybody comes at me in the comments, this is not an attack on KOs. In fact, if you watch some of my videos, I even say, hey, if a KO is what you can afford, get the KO by all means. I'm not against it. Celebrate the franchise how you want and collect how you want. This is just my personal rule for my personal collection, and in most cases, 90% of the time, I will not buy knockoffs. Rule number 2 on this list, one figure representation per character. And I get that a lot of collectors, especially Masterpiece collectors, are in the habit of purchasing two figures for each character, one to display in alt mode, one to display in robot mode. Now, my logic behind this for me is first off, space is one of the things. I don't have all the space to display characters in both modes. And the most sentimental reason is I don't see a point in buying a Transformers toy if I can't transform it from time to time. And yes, again, if you've seen my previous videos with my collection, you know that most of these haven't moved from robot mode. These will spend 80 to 90% of their life in robot mode, just changing the poses. But the point is that should I decide to put them into an alt mode and change that display, I have to transform them myself to get them there as they were intended. They are Transformers toys to me, therefore they were intended to transform into alt mode. And that's kind of my sentimental reasoning behind that. Furthermore, this also kind of saves on the whole budget thing. I'm not paying twice the amount for two of the same character. You know, that may work from a government perspective, paying buy two for twice the price, but it doesn't work so much from a personal one, especially for a man of limited means like myself. And if you get the movie reference that I'm going with for that, then kudos to you. Definitely feel free to list it out in the comments. Now, that being said, there are some exceptions I do make to this rule, specifically for my favorite characters. You notice I have quite a few Grimlocks, I have quite a few Optimus Primes, I have quite a few Jazzes. The others are my favorite characters, so I'm okay with having two additionally characters like Scourge and his sweeps. Obviously, I'll be getting a couple more FT61 Inquisitors to make up his sweeps that we saw in the movie. And of course, combiners. I actually intend on buying a double set of each combiner team that I have. One set to display in the combine mode and the other set to display in the individual robot and the individual in vehicle forms as well. But that's pretty much all the exceptions I'll make. Any of the typical individual characters, especially the ones that I'm buying as completion buys, they will be a one and done kind of deal. I'll have once and for all to transform or to leave in robot mode. Rule number 3, which kind of goes into rule number 2, I don't buy non-transforming Transformers toys. I'm one of those people. Like I stated before, Transformers were meant to transform, in my weird opinion. And I've seen the 3 Zeros, I've seen the YOLO parts. I watch reviews on these all the time. I know that they're cool. Okay, you don't have to. I mean, you can tell me in the comments, but I already know they're cool. They look great. I just cannot bring my own conscience, to buy a non-transforming Transformer, no matter how cool or how many accessories or if it lights up. I just can't bring myself to buy it. In my opinion, Transformers need to transform. And again, there is a weird and masochistic side of me that says, you know, if somebody asks, I kind of take pleasure in saying, yes, all these masterpiece Transformers transform, more or less, with a lot of effort. But no, seriously, this also goes in with the whole budget and the space thing. I'm not 100% sure I'll love a non-transforming Transformer, so I really don't want to put the risk in and the time into buying one and have to look for a spot to display it. I probably won't want to display it with any of my transforming toys. So non-transforming Transformers are kind of out of the scope of my collection. Rule number 4 on this list, and I mentioned this in a previous video, I'm not big on buying placeholders or bots that you put into your collection just because, hey, it's this character and he's just here for now until I find something better. I am really wanting to be patient and wait for what I feel will be my forever representation of that character on my shelf, versus going out and spending more money on figures I'm not even sure I'm gonna love, and then having to go through the hassle of listing it on the marketplace, making sure I have everything together, and then selling it potentially for less than what I paid for it. And, you know, little by little, you know, I'm wasting more of that finite budget that I've been talking about. So I'm really trying to make these figures my forever figures from the first time out. Now, obviously, having this review channel, and with this review channel growing, I may actually break this rule more than I actually want to. Again, I've looked at these DX9s that are coming out. I've looked at these Star Toys tracks that they have coming out. And again, these figures look great from the renderings. I'm not 100% sure I'll love them, but I do kind of plan to get them, at least for reviewing sake. So again, you know, it's going to be a case-by-case basis, but but ultimately my goal is to really buy my forever version of a specific character and stick with that character in my collection versus constantly upgrading over and over to the next best thing. So, number 4, no placeholders in this collection, or we're trying to have no placeholders in this collection. Last but not least, rule number 5. My collection is limited to masterpiece versions of characters from season 1, season 2, and the movie from G1, with a few live action movie figures thrown in there. Now, the biggest reason for this, besides budget and space, is my inner child only really resonates from characters from these seasons and the movie. When I was a kid, all I really remember was catching episodes from the first 2 seasons on television. We'd go to Blockbuster; they only have VHSs from the first 2 seasons. On of course, the video store near my house had a copy of Transformers the movie, excuse me, that I would rent repeatedly on end. So these are the characters that resonate for me. This is what tingles the heartstrings of my nostalgia, and I'm really trying to keep the focus on these characters that meant a lot to my childhood. Now, yes, if you've seen my channel, you know that I have collected the Fans Toys Decepticon Headmasters. They were kind of a guilty pleasure, and the 2 I got were right place, right time, and once I was in, I was all in. And yes, I do plan on going all in on Fans Toys Autobot Headmasters and the Horrorcons if they decide to make those. And my kind of reasoning for that is I can kind of lump them all with Galvatron's crew if I so desire, because technically they were from Rebirth. But that's going to be pretty much it. I don't plan on going in on any other characters from season 3. I know, famous last words with regards to that. And in addition, I do have some movie characters. I want to at least get the entire 2007 film cast with a few characters from Bumblebee and of course Rise of the Beasts. Now I don't do mainline mainly because, again, budget and space. I just don't have the space to collect 2 different characters from different lines. I cannot collect 2 different lines, especially at this point in my collection. I'm very lucky to have friends like JJ who do collect mainline, and they let me play with and review their figures from time to time on the channel, especially sometimes before he sees them himself. So I am very appreciative, and I think mainline is great. Again, if I did not have the budget to collect Masterpiece, I would totally be all in on mainline. I think that now is probably the best mainline Transformers have ever been, in my humble opinion. But otherwise, I just cannot collect it. I do have some mainline figures. I got my SS-86 Hot Rod. I do plan on getting an SS-86 Optimus Prime, but that's going to be in just a very small display of just kind of random characters that aren't associated with the Masterpiece core cast that are the focus of my collection. And again, I know, famous last words, but for now, it's going to stay as a small display for mainline. So that's going to be a wrap for my rules of Transformers collecting. But of course, let me know in the comments, what are some personal rules that you have to mitigate your collecting habits? Or are you just a free reign, have to have it madman or madwoman who just gets the latest and greatest thing? And in which case, let me know what your priority buys are. I definitely am curious to hear this. Again, I do these videos as kind of like a special, especially when there's not much around to review at the moment. And, it's kind of an about me, get to know the reviewer, as well as stimulate some discussion within the community. Because at the end of the day, we're all people with everyday lives, and we find our enjoyment in this 40-year-old franchise and the figures and the display pieces that it brings. And I just think that that's cool, all of us showing our love in different ways for this franchise. So that is going to be about it. Again, like and subscribe if you are not currently subscribed. Thank you so much to those of you that are 500 strong. Thank you for being a part of my federation. And that's going to be about it. I have been FC Finch. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.